rédíò àfẹ́jù gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ 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 àfẹ́jù rédíò àfẹ́jù rédíò àfẹ́jù rédíò àfẹ́jù.
Life no get duplicate.
Na so ẹ̀mí ò láàárọ̀ o.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Tẹ́ jẹ́jẹ́ o.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o. Make you take am easy.
Na so.
Radio Afinju says if you drink, don't drive. If you drive, don't drink.
Tẹ́ jẹ́jẹ́ o.
Make you take am easy.
Na so.
This awareness is brought to you by Radio Afinju.
Wherever you're listening or watching Radio Afinju, the time is 3 p.m.
First, a look at the highlights. Federal government, states, councils share 1.3 trillion naira new revenue allocations. Kenya's Ruto chooses close ally as deputy president after Gachagua impeached. Obama's set to hit campaign trail with Kamala Harris for first time. A very good afternoon and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Stella. Aderanti, the news in detail. The Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC, has distributed 1.298 trillion naira to the federal government, state governments and local government councils as revenue for September 2024. This was disclosed at the end of the October 2024 FAC meeting in Abuja. The total distributable revenue comprised several components: 124.716 billion naira in statutory revenue, 543.518 billion naira in value-added tax, 18.445 billion naira from the electronic money transfer levy, 462.191 billion naira from exchange difference revenue, and an augmentation of 150 billion naira. A communique from the FAC meeting noted that the total available revenue for September 2024 stood at 2.258 trillion naira. Of this, 80.993 billion naira was deducted for costs of collection, while 878.946 billion naira went towards transfers, interventions, and refunds. In September, gross statutory revenue amounted to 1.043 trillion naira, a decrease of 177.426 billion naira compared to 1.221 trillion naira in August. However, that revenue rose to 583.67 billion naira, up by 10.334 billion naira from 573.341 billion naira in August. From the total distributable revenue, the federal government received 424.867 billion naira, state governments received 453.724 billion naira, and local government councils received 329.864 billion naira. Additionally, 90.415 billion naira was distributed to oil-producing states as derivation revenue, as 13% of mineral revenue. The Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, Lagos State Chapter, has described the approval of 85,000 naira minimum wage as a demonstration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's commitment to addressing workers' welfare in the state. Chairman of TUC in the state, Gbenga Ekundayo, and Secretary Aladetan Abiodun stated this in a statement issued in Lagos. The duo, while acknowledging the minimum wage pronouncement, commended the governor for recognizing the need to review the current minimum wage. Two operatives of the Department of State Service, DSS, have dragged the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, before a high court of the Federal Capital Territory for allegedly making false allegations against them. Besides seeking a public apology, the security agents are demanding the sum of 5 billion naira as damages suffered as a result of SERAP's alleged false publication. In the suit, filed by their team of lawyers led by Akinlulu Kehinde, a senior advocate of Nigeria, the operatives alleged that SERAP had, in a post on its X handle, brought them and the DSS to ridicule when they accused them of invading and interrogating some staff members at their Abuja office. Kaduna State government has restricted movement throughout the state from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the October 19th local government election in the state. The restriction of movement is to ensure peaceful, orderly conduct of the elections. A statement by the state overseeing Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruan, said vehicle movements as well as commercial and other related activities which may constitute impediments to law and order are to cease within the period of the restriction, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday. Meanwhile, the Commandant, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Kaduna Command, Nuhu Dansado, has ordered immediate deployment of 1,500 personnel across the state ahead of Saturday's local government elections across the 23 local government areas of Kaduna State. Desado, while deploying the personnel after the muster parade at the NSCDC Kaduna State headquarters, warned against accidental discharge and unruly behavior. The commandant charged all divisional officers to ensure all staff posted to their divisions carry out their duties effectively. He further advised personnel to adhere strictly to the dressing code and ensure full protection of lives and property, including critical national assets and infrastructure. Troops of the 6th Brigade of the Nigerian Army have again apprehended 3 individuals suspected of collaborating with terrorist elements in Taraba State. The operation, which according to the soldiers was driven by intelligence reports, took place in Lande Jeze village, Lao Local Government Council of the state. In a statement made available to journalists in Jalingo in the early hours of the day by the acting spokesperson of the brigade, Oni Olubodunde, he said the operation was launched after reports of bandits' activity in Kona Mountain Range, which spans Jalingo and Lao Council. The 3 suspects, identified as Ahijo Suleiman, Abdurrahman Isa, and Aisha Mohammed, are said to be currently cooling off their heels in the troops' custody. The army reaffirmed its commitment to protecting lives, property, and preserving the nation's territorial integrity. And away from Nigeria, Kenya's President William Ruto has nominated Interior Minister Kitoro Kindiki as his new deputy, hours after the Senate voted to impeach the last man in the job, Rigathi Gachagua. Ruto's nomination of a close ally, who still needs to be approved by Parliament, comes after a period of political turmoil, mass protests, and the first removal of the Kenyan deputy president by impeachment. Gachagua was impeached on 5 out of 11 charges, including gross violation of the Constitution and stirring ethnic hatred, accusations that he denied and dismissed as politically motivated. He backed Ruto in his 2022 election win and helped secure a large block of votes from the popular central Kenya region. But in recent months, Gachagua has spoken of being sidelined amidst widespread reports in local media signaling a rift with Ruto as political alliances shifted. Kindiki was a top contender to be Ruto's running mate during the 2022 election and was appointed Interior Minister shortly after the president took office in September that year. The Interior Ministry includes oversight of the police. Rights groups have accused the police of using excessive force during protests earlier this year that called for the withdrawal of a now-shelved finance law and reforms to tackle corruption. In Asia, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said South Korea is a foreign and hostile nation, with photos showing Kim conferring with high-ranking soldiers and poring over a map labeled Seoul at a command post. The report said Kim discussed the use of offensive forces against the South as retaliation for any move that infringes on its sovereignty. The report comes a day after KCNA said North Korea amended its constitution to designate the South as a hostile state. Kim has increasingly lashed out at South Korea this year, accusing Seoul of colluding with Washington to seek the collapse of his regime, and has pushed for a clear break with decades of policy engagement with the South, including the scrapping of unification as a goal. Seoul has said that if North Korea were to inflict harm upon the safety of its people, that day will be the end of a North Korean regime. Kim made the remarks while inspecting the headquarters of the 2nd Corps of the North Korean Army, a major military unit that includes several forward-deployed brigades with heavy weapons aimed at the South. During the visit, he also said the changed nature of the South Korea-U.S. alliance and their different, more developed military maneuvers highlight the importance of a stronger North Korean nuclear deterrent. Philippine Vice President Sara Duterte has accused President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of incompetence and a lack of leadership in a scathing attack that shows the deepening rift between the two powerful families ahead of midterm elections. Duterte, the daughter of Marcos' predecessor, resigned from cabinet in June, signaling the collapse of a formidable political alliance that helped her and Marcos, son and namesake of the late strongman, secure their 2022 electoral victories. Presidential Communications Secretary Cesar Chavez told reporters Marcos would not be responding to Duterte's claims. Duterte's accusations come as the country gears up for midterm elections in May 2025, seen as a litmus test of Marcos' popularity and a chance for him to consolidate power and groom a successor before his single 6-year term ends in 2028. Since their falling out, Duterte and Marcos' relationship has turned hostile, driven by policy differences and investigations into former President Rodrigo Duterte's deadly war on drugs and other scandals involving his associates. It was learned the lower house of Congress, led by House Speaker Martin Romualdez, a cousin of Marcos, has slashed funding for Duterte's office by nearly 2/3 in the proposed 2025 budget. In the United Kingdom, Foreign Minister David Lammy will arrive in China today, seeking to demonstrate Britain's new government taking a pragmatic and strategic approach to building ties with Beijing, even while acknowledging areas of sharp disagreement. The Labour government, elected in July, wants to show it is serious about engaging with China, balancing a desire to cooperate on economic and global matters with challenging Beijing on issues like its support for Russia's war in Ukraine. Lammy's 2-day visit includes a meeting with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Beijing before visiting Shanghai to meet British businesses operating in China. Lammy's visit is not expected to yield major diplomatic agreements or intended to mark a reset in relations. Mao Ning, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, said the talks would focus on improving cooperation in various fields. From Europe, Russian President Vladimir Putin said the BRICS group will generate most of the global economic growth in the coming years due to its size and relatively fast growth compared with that of developed Western nations. Sources said Putin will host a summit of the group in the city of Kazan in October, and he hopes to build up BRICS, which has expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates, as well as Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, as a powerful counterweight to the West in global politics and trade. Next week's BRICS summit is being presented by Moscow as evidence that Western efforts to isolate Russia over its actions in Ukraine have failed. Russia wants other countries to work with it to overhaul the global financial system and end the dominance of the U.S. dollar. China, India, and the UAE confirmed that their leaders will attend the summit. Americas, Democrat Kamala Harris will campaign for the first time with Barack and Michelle Obama in separate events next week, hoping to inject some political star power in the final dash to Election Day in November. A senior campaign official said the former president and his wife remain immensely popular with the Democratic base and are expected to be effective closers in the final stretch of the campaign, relying on turnout from loyal Democrats in states where victory margins are thin. Polls show the presidential race between Harris and Republican rival Donald Trump remains extremely close. Michelle Obama is set to campaign for the first time this election cycle, appearing with Harris on Saturday, October 26th in Michigan. The former First Lady's pull no punches speech at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago earlier this year accused Trump of fear-mongering his way to power. Barack Obama is set to campaign with Harris next Thursday in Georgia. He has been crisscrossing the battleground states with a solo event recently in Pittsburgh and more to come in the coming days in Tucson, Las Vegas, Detroit, and Madison. Barack Obama drew some criticism after his first campaign appearance, where he admonished some black men for not feeling the idea of having a woman as president. Critics said his tone threatened to scapegoat some of the Democratic Party's most reliable supporters, alienating voters who may have grown disillusioned but are still persuadable. Harris was an early supporter of Barack Obama's 2008 presidential bid, and he has helped her behind the scenes as the party's 2024 standard bearer. Still in the U.S., the Texas Supreme Court has temporarily halted the execution of a man scheduled to become the first person to be put to death in the United States for a murder attributed to shaken baby syndrome. According to a court document, the Texas Supreme Court ruled in favor of a bipartisan group of state lawmakers who asked that the execution, scheduled to take place on Thursday evening, be delayed. The lawmakers requested the delay after issuing an unprecedented subpoena on Wednesday for death row inmate Robert Robertson to appear before them and answer questions about his case. Texas Representatives Joe Moody and Jeff Leach, who orchestrated Robertson's subpoena, and have championed his cause, praised the Texas Supreme Court's decision in a written statement. In the Middle East, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's promises to press on with Israel's wars in Gaza and Lebanon dashed hopes that the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar might help end more than a year of escalating conflict in the Middle East. Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, meanwhile, vowed to escalate fighting against Israel and its backer Iran, said the spirit of resistance would be strengthened by the death of its Palestinian ally Sinwar in Gaza. Sinwar, a mastermind of the October 7, 2023 attack that triggered the Gaza war, was killed during an operation by Israeli soldiers in the Palestinian enclave on Wednesday, a pivotal event in the year-long conflict. Netanyahu called Sinwar's killing a milestone late on Thursday, but vowed to keep up the war, which in recent weeks expanded from fighting against Palestinian group Hamas in Gaza into an invasion of southern Lebanon and the bombardment of large swaths of the country. Netanyahu's comments contrasted with Western leaders, including U.S. President Joe Biden, who said Sinwar's death offered a chance for the conflict to end. In the meantime, 6 people were killed and 25 were injured when a bus rolled over in Turkey's central province of Ascaray on Friday. The local governor, Mehmet Kambuzoglu, told reporters it was unclear what caused the accident on the Ascaray-Ankara motorway. The bus was said to be taking passengers from the western province of Balıkesir to the Cappadocia region, a popular tourist destination in central Turkey. He said the injured were rushed to hospital and an investigation into the accident has been launched. And talking sports, a 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka of Japan has pulled out of next week's Pan Pacific Open in Tokyo because of a back injury. The former world number one has been sidelined since she retired from her last 16th match at the China Open against eventual champion Coco Gauff at the start of the month. She then pulled out of this week's Japan Open in Osaka. The 27-year-old was set to compete at the Pan Pacific Open as a wild card, but organizers said she would be absent because of a lower back injury. Osaka's appearance at the China Open was her first tournament under Patrick Marotoglu, the Frenchman best known for being Serena Williams' longtime former coach. She has struggled for consistency since returning to tennis in January after the birth of her daughter, Shea, in July 2023. Her best results since becoming a parent have been 2 quarterfinal appearances. China's Olympic champion, Zheng Owen, ranked number 7 in the world and is the top-ranked player at the Pan Pacific Open. Before we go, here again are the highlights. The Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC, has distributed 1.298 trillion naira to the federal government, state governments and local government councils as revenue for September 2024. Elsewhere, Kenya's President William Ruto has nominated Interior Minister Kithure Kindiki as his new deputy hours after the Senate voted to impeach the last man in the job, Rigathi Gachagua. In the Americas, we brought you news that Democrat Kamala Harris will campaign for the first time with Barack and Michelle Obama in separate events next week, hoping to inject some political star power in the final dash to Election Day in November. And that was the world news on Radio Afinju. To view our channel, please follow us on Facebook, Radio Afinju, X, Radio Afinju, and YouTube, Afinju FM. My name is Stella Aderanti. Thanks for listening.